In the second video for this unit, we talked about how the capitalist system of laissez-faire meant that during the Industrial Revolution, the government stayed out of the economy for the most part. This is because entrepreneurs were trying to get away from the previous economic system that took away their profits. The more government rules you have, the less money you're going to be able to keep. The capitalist system meant that there were very few laws to protect workers. There were poor working conditions, no minimum wage, safety regulations, or mandated overtime hours. Workers didn't have much choice because there were so many poor people willing to work in these terrible conditions just to have enough money to buy food for their family. If a worker complained, they'd be fired because there were a lot of other poor people who were willing to take their place. So the workers took the abuse without complaining. Eventually, the workers realized that if they banded together, they could force the boss to listen to their complaints because the company couldn't just fire everybody. Unions are a collective organization where all of the workers get together to discuss problems or ideas to make the workplace better. They'll then vote on what they think should be in their employment contract. They'll ask for things like higher wages and better working conditions. The reason unions work is because if the boss refuses to listen to the demands of the workers can take action. The most extreme is going on strike, where all of the workers refuse to come into work. That's going to hurt the boss because the boss can't make a profit if the factory's not producing anything. And it's not just the workers of that particular business that can go on strike. There are general strikes where workers in a number of different industries will go on strike, like we saw in Winnipeg in 1919. At first, anyone who tried to organize a union of workers could be fired, and sometimes the boss would even have people damage the union organizer's property or beat them up as a warning to anyone else. But eventually the government in countries like Britain, Canada, and the United States realized that the workers needed to have some protection to get a fair chance to participate in the capitalist economy and not be abused by the bosses. President Roosevelt called this a square deal. Tragedies like the Triangle Shirtwaist Fire also encouraged people to put pressure on their government to do more to help workers be treated fairly. You should Google this story, it's very interesting. Eventually, the government passed laws to protect the workers who wanted to unionize. By the turn of the 20th century, so 100 years ago, unions started to gain strength and working conditions in the factories and other businesses got better. For example, some unions were able to convince their business to create a healthcare plan and a retirement plan for workers. Years later, the government in many developed nations decided to provide those services to all workers, not just those who had a union job. Unions were also able to influence the government to pass other laws like maximum hours of work and minimum wages. By the middle of the 20th century, getting a job in a unionized factory was a great opportunity. But unions have started to see some serious problems in the 21st century. Some businesses ended up leaving North America and moving to places like Asia, where countries are just starting to go through their industrial revolution and most workers aren't unionized. That means the company doesn't have to pay minimum wage or help employees save for a pension plan or pay for their healthcare insurance. By outsourcing jobs, companies could make their products for less and keep more of their profits. Another problem that came from all of those benefits was that the company was having to pay more and more to the workers even when the company couldn't afford to and was losing profits. In 2008, there was a recession where the economy goes down and people buy less. One industry that was really hit was the automotive industry because people weren't buying new cars. Yet the company still had to pay all of the benefits and high salaries to their unionized employees. Many people blamed the unions for almost bankrupting the car companies. So you can see that while unions played an important role by encouraging countries to adopt socialist programs a century ago, today there's some debate on whether unions help or hurt companies and the economy. Do we need unions because they give workers a better chance to express their ideas and be listened to? Or is the need for unions outdated because the government has already passed laws to protect the worst abuses of capitalism, encourage some equality, and business owners need to be able to have more control over their company? What's your opinion?